Hello, everybody. So, you've found my little stream here or my video on YouTube or Twitch. So, I guess you're here to learn about Afterlife by LucasArts. I guess you made it past the cheesy intro, as they call it, which frankly used to freak me out when I used to play it years ago. It's an interesting game, this one. It really is. This will be part of a 4-part series. So, this is part 1. Part 1 will be talking about basically having a little explore around what's here in the game, having a chat about what do you really need to do? Like, what is the main objective? How do I win this game? Okay. So, the other parts that we'll actually be chatting about is we'll be talking about the angels and demons. We'll be talking about the world, beliefs, and religion, as in what's happening on Earth, how it affects me in the afterlife. The other thing we'll be also talking about is souls, which is the main reason for the afterlife. How important are they? How important this price here per soul? And how can it help me achieve to the goal of winning, basically? All right, so afterlife. It's pretty much what it says. Afterlife is basically about the afterlife. In this game, Afterlife has hell, as you can see here in the red area, and also heaven. And your job is to run heaven and hell. Now, all I can say is this. If you've never played this before, you can lose pretty easily. You can get tied up in all the little bits and pieces that you have to do about it, and next thing you know, you've been in debt too long and you've lost. Now, what I would recommend is when you actually start up a game for the first time, go into easy mode. It's not taking the easy way out, for want of a better way of putting it, but as I said, it is quite intricate. There's a lot of manual fine-tuning that you need to do in order to make your way through this and get it past the first bit. The next thing that I would actually recommend is up here. Your global menu. It's one of the most important areas that you will use in Afterlife. You've got here, of course, you've got your audio settings. So if you come in here and find that you don't like the music, it's too loud, that sort of thing, you can change that under that setting. But you've also got your tempo. Now, you will play around with this more than once, especially if you're a first-time user of Afterlife. So at the moment, you can see there's a little tick next to Divine Intervention. That means that you can start putting things in, setting things up, and nothing will happen yet. You won't get any souls come through. So it gives you that time and space to really organize it before you actually start the game. Now, the next one up is Mortal Plotting, which is basically slow tempo of your game. It will start to filter in your souls very slowly, give you time to sort of adjust to things. Now, if you just can't wait for all those souls to fill up the area, you can then go on to Hounds of Hell. Well, let's just say that, especially as a new user, it can get away from you pretty quickly. And that's not even getting to demonically fast. Now, the whole object of the game is to reach 1 billion souls. Now, you might think that sounds pretty easy, but there's a few other parts to it. You also need to be not in debt, because you will find that it is expensive to run heaven or hell. So I would definitely recommend that if you're a new user, Pick the easy mode for starters. Start off in your divine intervention. Get your things worked out where they want to be. And we will talk about more of those structures further on in the other parts of the series. And stick to mortal plotting. Plotting. Mouthful today. Stick to that one for starters until you get to know about things and things start to run a little bit better. Now, the other thing is, in this game, there are bad things. You can turn them off. If you really are not wanting any kind of challenge whatsoever or any kinks in the work, you can say no bad things. So you can come up and start a game and go into the global menu, go to bad things, click on no bad things. Now, what sort of bad things do we get? As you can see here in this list here, we have Birds of Paradise, Bats Out of Hell, My Blue Heaven, Hell, yes, it freezes over, and Heaven Knows, yes, it's a nose, Hell in a Handbasket, Paradise Pair of Dice, and Disco Inferno. Now, if you do not turn these bad things off, now and again, one of these bad things will happen in heaven or hell, and they will destroy structures and mess with all your fine tuning. There's nothing funnier than seeing in Bats Out of Hell. You literally see bats flying across hell doing poo. Back 1-0 onto your buildings and messes with it. So that's just an example of it. And of course, with the pair of dice, you literally do have a pair of dice go tumbling over and wreck structures and things, which of course costs money to fix. And yeah, that sort of thing. So this global menu is quite important. You will go and use it. So changing your tempo, turning on the actual thing. So if you set it all up and you go, why am I not getting any souls? Go up to the global menu and make sure that you're not on divine intervention still. All right. So your miscellaneous things here are there's auto scroll. I've got that turned on at the moment. Now that just means that if I reach the edge of the screen, it will actually move it for me. If you don't have that turned on, you literally have to go to these scroll bars here and scroll around. And it can be like a click, click, click thing. It's pretty slow. So you can turn on things about all your different announcements and things. Occasionally, Earth will have its own disasters, which means you'll have a sudden influx of souls to your heaven or hell that you are managing. Your message box timeout and things like that, hide your scroll bar, so a few different things there. I mean, the only other area that you might go to is you might go to some planet view or graph view, but most of them are available through this area here. And yeah, so we have this menu here. What does it do and what do all these buttons do? And how can I use them to win the game? Well, each of these coloured areas here represent a sin or a virtue, depending on whether or not you're in heaven or in hell. So say we're in hell, they're all sins, like gluttony and lust and things like that. So each colour represents one of those sins. And in heaven, each one of these colours represent a virtue. So what does this one here do? The rainbow one. It is actually a generic area. That means that anyone from any colour can move into that area. Now, I wouldn't recommend this in hell because in hell, you want to keep your colours separate from each other, not right next to each other. Okay? It is of benefit to keep them separate. Whereas in heaven, sure, you can put some of those things in amongst the other colours. They like to be near each other. They like to mix in. But the downside is it can only hold half the amount that the solid colours do. So a lot less population it can hold there. Now we've got these other buttons here. As you can see here, it's got Heaven's Gate and Hell's Gate. So the top row is all your things for heaven for this section, and the bottom row, of course, is all for hell. Now it's the gate. It's basically where your souls come in. They can't get in to heaven or hell unless you give them a gate to start with. Now each one along here, you can get a bigger gate. As you can see, it costs more and it can let in more people per timeline. You would probably start off with a little one. There's nothing to stop you from later on destroying the gate if you've got a lot of cash and building a bigger one. So you can only build heaven gates in heaven and hell gates in hell, funnily enough. Alright, so what else do we have here? Picture of the person here. It looks like it's walking. What do you think that does? That's right. It's a road. It's basically your roads. You need roads to get to your structures. If it's not connected to a road, your souls can't get to it. Also applies to your areas, so your sin and virtue color areas. You can only go out, I think it is 3 or 4 blocks from a road back before it's no longer habitable, unless you put a road on the other side that joins up. So the souls will not be able to move into it if you don't. Okay? Now we'll go into a lot more of that, as I said, in section part 4. Basically when we talk about that fine-tuning of souls and all the running of it. At the moment, this part 1 is just giving you a bit of an overhaul of the layout of things and, as I said, how we win, etc. Now this one here, this is a karma mover. Okay, it's a soul mover. You need one of these in heaven and hell. And that, look, having said that, you can focus on one plane first. You could just do hell for a while and not do heaven. You do not have to shift between the two for starters. Get in, learn about your areas, see what works, see what doesn't work. Get a handle on it before you start doing one. So you can start with heaven or you could start with hell. Just pick one. Either way, each one does need a soul mover. So okay, they're basically, it means that anyone who believes in reincarnation can then get back out of heaven or hell and get back to earth and then eventually come back again. So you're moving them in through the gates and out through the karma stations if that's what they believe. And as you can see, as with the other structures, as you move along the line, they cost more, but they can handle more souls at a time. Now, you'd be looking at probably wanting to upgrade that once you get quite a high population coming in and out of your heaven or hell planes. All right. And it has to be near the road too. It has to be joined onto a road, otherwise they can't get to it. This one here, you're thinking, well, we already had a road over here. What's this one look like? It's a track, okay? Now this one is basically for joining our karma station. So if I grab a karma station here, and I'll just honk it here. Now I'll put some road next to it. Now I'll zoom in a bit. It's the next one here. You've got your zoom here. Zoom right in. So we can see it a bit better. There we go. Now I've got the grid turned on at the moment. We'll be having a look at that in a moment. So you can see here, I've put the road, it touches the road. We've got a karma station. Now you'll be looking at these structures here that look like little pools of lava. They're actually above the world. They're not on the actual planes. They sit between heaven and hell. And that is what we have to join the karma station to with one of these tracks here. So we go like that. Oh, can't go there because there's a rock. And we hope that we get it joined. Now, basically it shuttles it from here to here. Now, we've also got this little city button. This is where your angels and demons will live, which we'll talk about in part 2 or 3 when we talk about angels and devils. But they need somewhere to live. So if you're doing hell, your demons need somewhere to live. Otherwise, they have to travel. And if they have to travel, that costs a lot of money, a lot of expense every year. As you can see up the top there. See, I've already spent some money. So you start with a lot, but it does go down quite quickly. So they need somewhere to live. Now in this case, it's hell. So I would pick the cheapest one here, and I'm just going to put it there for purpose. Okay, so they have a building there for them to live. Alright, the next one here. Now this is where you train your devils and your angels. Now I won't go into that, as I said, because we will talk about that, as I said, later on in another part. But that is basically our training cloud for them. This one here is your ports, because as you can see, here in hell we've got some lava flows. And I've got a big area here that I could use, but I can't get to it because it's cut off by the lava. And in heaven, there'll be rivers. So this is where you will actually use these ports. And in order to use it, I'm just going to plonk one down here. It has to be attached to a road. One there. One there. They'll get on here. They'll get off that side. And you just need to have roads touching it as well, just like the other buildings. All right, now this one. All right, so these are like energy. They are siphons. Once again, one's for heaven, one's for hell. Can't cross them over in the different planes. I'll just zone in here so you can see. Just move it down. There we go. Oops. All right. So here's some rocks. I would put this right next to it on a rock and see how it changes colour. That means it is siphoning the energy out of those rocks. Now, in order for heaven and hell to run, they need to have power. And that's how you can get them from those. Now, by themselves, they don't need to be on a road, but in order for the energy to reach your buildings, you do need to put a road past it. So you still need to have those roads connecting them. And all that fine tuning will be talked about in another one. But as I said, just basics for now. All right, so we've talked about the energy. Now we also have these. Now see how it says they're all unavailable and everything. If you do well and you reach a certain milestone of population, they will grant you a special building. Now that special building you can put wherever you want, and it will give a lot of really good vibes or really bad vibes if you're in hell. So if you have a problematic area and you have room to put it, you can put one of these buildings in. Now the great thing about these buildings are once you've been given one, you can destroy it as many times as you want and put it back in another place or in the same spot if you want as many times as you want. Of course, it'll take money to do it, but you can actually do that. So it's a great way of changing the vibe of the area. Now, if you have good vibes, when we get to talking about the sins and virtues a bit more, you will get upgrades in buildings. Things will evolve. If they evolve, they hold more people, which is really great. Now, we also have this area here. So you'll have a time where you'll have some souls that can't find their sin or virtue. It might be full, might not be attached to a road yet, some reason like that. And you'll get them wandering around and they get called lost souls. Now, you need to have what's called a limbo bar. Basically, it's somewhere for them to hang out until you rectify the situation. If you don't, you lose lost souls and you lose money. And it will come up down here. That's why it says lost 0. That's the number of lost souls that you actually get. Okay? So here's your limbo bar here. Now they are not permanent. They run out. It's just kind of like they run out of the beer. The bar breaks down and goes away. And then you've got lost people around. So it's not a permanent fixture. And it's not a permanent solution. But it does give you time to do it. Now this one here, this is the one I love. The one with the little lightning. I click on that and click on a building. Boom. Gone. It's a lot of fun if you're bored. Or if you found out that you put something in a wrong spot. Or when you were dragging out a bit of road, it's stuck to a rock or something and you need to clear it. That's the one to use. Now, as you can see, it can be quite difficult to sort of see what's going on here with things. So you might be wanting to put something around this area here behind the structures, and it's very hard to see from this angle. So these buttons here, these triangles, change your point of view. See, now we're on the other side and we can move around and see. They take a little getting used to, but basically it changes the angle that you're looking at. Alright, and as I said before, this is the zoom in, zoom out. They come really handy when you start doing the fine tuning stuff for your sins and virtues. Excuse me. Now, you'll also notice that there's the world in here. If I click on this, it shows you what's going on in the world. How many people are there, what the tech level is. Now, we will talk about this in part 2. I will explain what all the ha-ha, ho-hos and all that are and what it means for you as the afterlife and how you can actually influence them. So you can see population with that one, technology for that one. At the moment, the inhabitants only have the technology of fire, so they're still fairly quite low in technology. And you've got sins and virtues. Now you can see there the one that looks like a little harp, that's heaven, and of course the pitchfork is hell. So depending on what one it is, for example, purple, if I put it onto hell, is lust. Which means if you did that, you'd get a lot more souls because the population's going to go up. The tenants here can also show you what they're doing in the world, whether they're more in the hell, more in the whatever, all the different beliefs. And you can influence it and how weak or strong they are. So I only occasionally come in here to check things. I don't really go and do worldview that much. I more focus on these buttons here, these 4. In particular, this one here that looks like a graph. Because basically that's what it is. It's the graph view. Now you'll notice you've got more buttons here. Pie charts, other charts, these charts. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to swap across to a game I already have. No, I'm not going to save that. This one I did for one of my other streams. I'll bring it up here. As you can see, it looks quite busy. And at the moment, I'm getting 22 cents per soul. When you start off, you'll get about 10 cents. Okay. And I've got nearly 340,000 souls here. So if we scroll in a bit here, that looks quite cool, doesn't it? A lot of evolved buildings and things around here. Now, why I went to this game to show you is so that I can show you the graph view. So you can see here the number of gates and things and populations and all that using it, depending on whether it's in heaven or hell. So I don't use that one as much. I can show you what the beliefs of the souls are in your heaven and hell. And you've got all those lovely acronyms there again that we'll talk about. But this is one of the more important ones here. Okay, the graph view here with population graph. So you can see I can fit quite a lot more in to my envious part. And we're going to focus just on hell here. I'm going to turn off that one. As you can see, you can toggle them on and off. Or I can toggle that one off. Envious. So I can fit quite a lot more envious people, which is the green colour. And I can fit quite a few of the other ones at the moment as well. Now, if this was really full or short, you would probably need to put more of the zone in. Now, why is there a dark colour and a lighter colour? This is actually permanent souls and temporary souls. So you know how we're talking about reincarnation early on? Temporary ones. Just hanging out there to do their time and then they move on. Whereas these are your permanent souls. They're stuck there. That you've got them there for good. They've come in, they've given you money for the price of their soul. That's it. They're just there working towards your population. So watching here, you can sort of see whether or not you need to add more areas or not, or maybe get them to evolve by working on things like vibes and things. And as I said, remember how I said there's so much you can put into this game, so much information, and lots and lots and lots of manual and fine-tuning. That's why I was breaking it down. This is another one that's got the gates and things here. This one you can track how your money's going. So you can turn things on and off. As you can see there with a little click. Each one like a population of hell. And heaven. There we go. Our freight structures are going and all those sort of things. So you'll definitely usually have a yellow line here that actually comes down like this because you do use a lot of money. And you need to start getting that money back in one way or another. Otherwise, you're going to end up in debt. So there's a lot of graph things that you can sort of check out. This one here is where it says basically whether how many angels or demons you've got employed, how many are just sitting around flapping their wings, doing nothing. And you'll find out how important this is later on when I talk about angels and demons more. How many you've got coming in and how many are actually living there. Because this here is going to really impact your money going out. And once again, it's the number of different things there who have different beliefs. And once again, graph view, budget graph. At the moment, I'm running in a deficit, so I'm not running a profit yet. I'm doing not as bad in hell, but heaven still needs to pick up. Now, you realise from this game that I've actually done, I actually started in hell first, so that's why it's not quite as bad, but I'm still not making enough money. I'm going to eventually run out of money if I don't make it better. Now, this one here, it's your soul view. Remember how I said about lost souls and everything? When you see them going around your structure, you'll actually see them going around your road, and they'll have a little ball above its head and everything. And you can actually click on them and see what they're doing. Now, this is your micromanaging, how I was saying about, or in this case, your macro manager, but how I was saying about micromanaging, I don't tend to use the macro manager because it costs a lot of money. The idea basically is at the moment I'm doing manually. If I turn on automatic, it makes them have to manage it and fix it up for you. And you would pick which ones you want to do, whether it's hell side on this side or heaven. In this case, I might say all of them and automatically do them. And then I have to click on it and see how much money it's going to cost me if I do that. If I get them to macro manage everyone in hell, it's going to cost me about 180,000, which, since we're running at a deficit amount, as in we're running not earning enough each year, I wouldn't do that. You can go through a lot of money quickly for that. So I actually do the manual managing, which is a lot of clicking, but still, if you want to get there and start to get that soul price up, it's what you need to do. So the next button here, once again, macro manager here. I did it again. This one here. Now, this gives you a map view of heaven or hell. So I can click on the hell one. It shows me hell. You can see all my populations here at the moment. So this one shows me how many temporary and permanent ones there are. There's a lot of temporary ones around here at the moment because they're red. So you've got your little chart here. This one here shows me how efficient they're running. So at the moment, most of them are running pretty well. There's a couple of them that are not over this side and a little bit that probably needs some fine tuning over here. So that means my little sin areas are working quite well. So I can be happy with that. This one here, your vibes. Okay, this is what you need to know. Your gates will give off quite strong vibes. Now, depending on whether you're in heaven or hell, is whether or not you want to put any of those virtue areas or sin areas too close to it. Now, what you need to know is in heaven, souls don't want to walk a long way. So they want to be close to the gate, but you don't want to put it too close to the gate because of the vibes that it gives off. Okay? Now, in hell, you make them walk a long way. Walk them as far as you can, really. Make them have to walk to get to those sin areas. So we're really punishing them. We make it hard for them. So that's why you can see in this one, my road's all around. It basically makes it less efficient, which is good for hell. But efficiency is not good for heaven. So you can see all my roads are quite straight in heaven. All right. So we're saying about energy and everything. See how over here it's red? It's got very good vibes. So in hell, the karma station gives off very good vibes, which is not good. Confused yet? Okay. So good vibes are bad for hell. Good vibes are good for heaven. And bad vibes are bad for heaven. So we're doing the opposite for one another. So karma stations remind their souls of basically their old lives and things. So in hell, they give off very good vibes. We don't want the people to feel good in hell. All right? So don't put things too close to that because they will stop things from evolving the way you want them to. At the moment, we've only got a little bit here, which might even be my gate, is it? Yes, it's my gate, giving off very good vibes, just like the karma station. But all the rest, I've got it pretty bad. In heaven here, you'll notice, once again, very bad vibes and very bad vibes. So we don't want in heaven them to have to go too far to get to their areas, but we don't want to put it too close to the gate. I like to usually try and leave in heaven, especially, an area for that really good building that they give to you later on to reward you, and stick it next to the gate so it can help with that vibe, that beneficial vibe for you. All right, so the other ones we've got here. Okay, so this capacity. So this is another way you can quickly see, do I have room? Am I getting too full? That sort of thing, as you can see by the color coding here. There we can click on it and see it. So we've got a couple of really full areas there. There's no vacancy at all, they're quite full. We've got a few in the middle here that's quite got a roomy, as they say. This one here is quickly, so you can just see quickly where all the different views are. Or like, here we go. All the different zoning. Your roads, so how much traffic is on them. Just a quick thing for your karma station and portals and everything. And whether or not you're powered, that's another one of your important ones. Remember we said about those ones that suck the energy out of the rocks? So we have a whole area here that's unempowered. Ooh, I need to fix that. So all this is pretty good. Got a bit over here that's not. This area here really needs fixing. So I might even stick some road out here. Road. Run it past there if I can. Okay. And now we're in heaven. So I need one of these. Okay. Oh. Need to try and get some more power back into this. All right. Now, sorry about that. Okay. Where were we? Oh, I've got to put a road out in the middle of nowhere. What's that? Love that part of it. All right. So, we've got these parts here. If you've never played before, you can click on this and you can actually learn a little bit about gates and siphons and heaven and hell. And your little helpers here will actually, with a bit of attitude, of course, especially from the demon half, give you some information about it. So that's what that button is there. This one here is your micro view. You are going to use that a lot. If you have micro view enabled and you click on something, it will tell you stuff and you can micromanage it, which we will go into when we do the last one about souls and basically how to fine tune the game. So that will be in part 4. But you will use this extensively. Now, This one here is another really easy one to use. You toggle the pictures of basically the buildings on and off. I find this really helps when you need to do the micromanage part. So when you're using this, as you can easily find those little blocks and squares much better than when it looks like that, as you can tell. The other one, that's just basically where your track is. And you can turn your grid on and off. I like to have the grid on because it's just easier to do it out and plot out how many squares you're going to go, etc., especially when you're doing roads and that and the like. But yes, turning them on and off in heaven and hell just makes it easier when you're clicking on to check what the vibes are and to micromanage those buildings. And of course, the final bit here is, of course, your souls. How many you've got, how many you've lost at the moment. Um, yeah, how much you've got, like your different angels and things, and how much your soul money is per soul coming in. So you really want to get that soul price up. And as I'm saying before, it will take micromanaging, fine tuning, and a lot of time. So the final thing for this part one I'm going to say is up here, file, save game. You put all that work into it, you're getting it ready before you even turn your souls on. Save it. Save. You don't want to lose all your hard work. So thank you for listening. I waffled on quite a lot because there's lots of bits and pieces you can do, and trust me, in the next part you will learn a lot more of intricate parts about how to manage those demons, to win this game, to make it to the 1 billion population, and have some fun. And then maybe you can go up here and turn on your bad things and have a bit of a chuckle when you see people doing disco dances across your board and wiping out things that you've been working on. So I will see you in part 2, which is about angels and demons. See you later, everyone.